From the 37th floor of Han Group's headquarters, Seoul shimmered like a city built on discipline and ambition. Glass towers reflected one another endlessly as if the city itself feared disorder. Adebimpe stood near the boardroom window, hands folded calmly before her, though her heartbeat told a different story. Living in Korea had taught her composure. It was how she survived being noticed too much and understood too little. When Chairman Han Jun-seok entered the room, the air shifted. He was tall, controlled, and immaculately dressed. Every detail of him spoke of authority. He acknowledged her presence with a measured nod before sitting across from her at the long table. Between them lay a slim folder. "This will be a contractual marriage," he said plainly, 12 months. Voice carried no warmth, only clarity. Bimp listened as he outlined the terms: public appearances, family functions, corporate events, no emotional expectations, no intimacy, absolute discretion. In return, she would receive financial security and legal stability, things she had fought too hard to lose. When he finished, silence stretched between them. "Why me?" she asked. Han Jun-seok studied her carefully. "Because you are intelligent, composed, and unconnected to my world, and because no one will mistake this for romance." The honesty stung, but she did not flinch. She reviewed the contract, then signed her name with steady resolve. When their fingers brushed as he took the folder back, the contact was brief but unmistakable. His hand paused for half a second longer than necessary. "Welcome, Mrs. Han," he said. The title settled over her like a borrowed garment, beautiful, heavy, temporary. Han Jun-seok's penthouse was quiet in a way that felt intentional. Nothing was out of place, nothing invited lingering. Bimp chose the guest room without discussion. In public they were flawless. At corporate dinners his hand rested lightly at her waist, guiding her with subtle authority. Cameras loved them, observers whispered. The contrast between them, his restraint and her quiet warmth, made them unforgettable. At home the walls remained intact. Cooked, he watched from a distance. One evening the scent of spices lingered through the apartment, drawing him into the kitchen. "You cook with confidence," he remarked. "My mother said food carries memory," she replied, "even when everything else feels foreign." He watched her more closely then, her hands, her posture, the way she moved with calm assurance. Something shifted, uninvited. They began to talk. About childhood, about loneliness, about silence. The conversations lingered longer than necessary, so did the glances. At night, when the apartment grew quiet, both of them lay awake, aware of each other in ways that had never been part of the agreement. Family gatherings were polite and precise and merciless. Mother addressed Bimp kindly but never warmly. Questions came layered with judgment, praise edged with dismissal. Other relatives observed with open curiosity. Han Jun-seok remained reserved, he never contradicted them. That silence became a fracture. "You let them see me as temporary," Bimp said one night, standing across from him in the living room, "as something to endure." "This was always understood," he replied, though his tone lacked conviction. "Then stop touching me like you don't believe that," she said quietly. The word struck deeper than accusation. Days later, she overheard a conversation she was never meant to hear, discussions of future arrangements, of appropriate wives, of what would come after. That night she packed. When Han Jun-seok returned, her suitcase stood by the door. "I won't be a lesson you used to become brave for someone else," she said calmly. "I deserve more than that." He watched her leave, unable or unwilling to stop her. Distance changed everything. Bimp reclaimed herself. She worked harder, laughed louder, allowed herself to exist without shrinking. The silence she once feared became space to breathe. Han Jun-seok discovered how empty control felt without her presence. Apartment lost its balance, success felt hollow. He realized that what unsettled him was not her absence but the truth it revealed. Desire had never been the problem. Fear had been. He found her weeks later near the Han River, the city humming softly around them. "I was wrong," he said, "not because I didn't care but because I was afraid to choose." Turned to him, steady and unguarded. "Love without courage is still abandonment." "I choose you now," he said, publicly, fully, without conditions. The silence between them felt different this time. Alive. Announcement shook everything. Han Junseok acknowledged his wife openly, defied expectations, accepted the cost. The first time, he stood beside her without hesitation. Their reunion was quiet, unobserved. When he reached for her, his touch was reverent, deliberate. His hand cupped her face as though asking permission without words. Answered by stepping closer. The kiss that followed was unhurried, months of restraint dissolving into warmth, breath, and trust. Nothing rushed, nothing taken. Later, wrapped in silence and closeness, Bimp rested against him, listening to his heartbeat. "This," she said softly, "is what we were afraid of. And what we chose anyway," he replied. Under a Seoul sky wide enough for both of them, they stood, no longer bound by contracts or fear. Only by love they had finally claimed.